So in this today's class, we are going to talk about another topic, so which is called as functions. Okay, so functions is as same as your variables, almost the topics wise if we talk about. Sorry. And okay, so what is a variable? I have told you. If you assign a name to a set of data, that is nothing but called as a variable. And what I would like to tell as a function means, if you assign a name to a set of commands, then that is nothing but called as a function. Okay, so you are going to assign a name to a set of commands. So previously you assigned a name to a set of data. So you access the name, you got the data. So now you access the function, the commands whatever you have defined in the function will be called and those will be executed. Okay, so as those are commands actually. So previously it is only data. Now those are commands. So the purpose of commands is to execute. Now how do you define a function in Bash shell? So your function name, open the brace, okay, close the brace, and in flower braces, okay, so you can write the flower brace on the same line or you can put it in the next line, so it's up to you. So I usually do it like this. Okay, so function name and your commands. Now how do you access the function? As simple as the function name. Okay, you simply give the function name and you can call the function. Okay, so let's say I'm giving test function. I'm defining a function. So I'll just write echo hi and echo bye. I'm just writing two echo commands in it and just closing it. How do I access the function? So test func, that's all. So those two commands are actually getting executed whenever you call the function. So previously it is not executing, it is only loading, defining a function, but those commands are not actually executing. Okay, whenever you call the function and those commands will be executed. Okay, so simple thing, but it's very simple, but you need to understand the very basic things over here. See what I told you in the very first class and after the classes also. So the first one you execute, so which is nothing but command name. So it may have options, and it may have inputs. It may have functions and it may have inputs. So what is the thing I'm executing here? I'm using test function. So you know that is a function, but the shell, the first one you are giving, okay, that is a command. Okay, so function is nothing but a type of command. Okay, so these are basic things actually. Okay, so what are the how many types of commands you have? You have 4 types of commands which are available in Linux operating system. So what are those is, the first one is, okay, the first one is commands. Okay, so which is nothing but /bin, you'll find /sbin. Okay, so instead of saying commands, actually I can say binary files. Sorry. So binary files, okay, so which you usually find in /bin /sbin location. And thereafter, and after that, okay, so you usually have shell built-in commands. So we already seen shell built-in commands like dot command, like history command, I shown you, right? So those are shell built-in commands. And after that you have functions, and final one you have is alias. So these are the two, okay, these are the 4 types of commands. Okay, so you have binary files, you have shell built-in commands, you have functions, and you have alias. Now have you ever, we already seen, right? So LSS, command not found. So when you get a command not found error, so it will find it in alias, whether it is there in the alias. If alias is not defined, then it looks into the functions. The functions, if it is also not there, then it looks into the shell built-in commands. The command doesn't find in shell built-in commands, then it looks into the path whatever it has defined, /bin, sbin, usrbin, usrsbin. Okay, so those paths here it is going to see, and if there also it is not found, then finally you are getting command not found error. Okay, every command you execute, it checks for alias, and then it goes and checks for function, it goes and checks whether it is shell built-in, and finally goes for look into the binary files, okay, whether it is a binary file, and finally you'll get the error command not found. So this is how actually, so okay, so usually it happens in Linux operating system. So now we are talking about function. So function is also a type of command. Function is also a type of command. Okay, so function is also a type of command, but it individually, okay, so doesn't treat, it's like a semi command. I cannot say, okay, it's a full command. Okay, so it's a semi commanding thing. Okay, so why I'm saying semi commanding thing is basically any command you execute, you get a process ID. That's fine. Any command we execute, it should get a process ID, but not for shell built-in commands, but not for functions, and but not for alias. Only for these three things you'll not get a process ID. The process ID, alias is nothing but alias, you are going to alias to a binary file or any of these things. Okay, so it's a simple. If it is a binary file, you'll get a process ID, but if you are aliasing your shell built-in command or a function, you will not get it. You will not get a process ID. Okay, I'm specifically telling that it will not get a process ID. I will prove that particular one in the coming classes, but as of now it will not create any new process ID. So function is also a type of command, but it doesn't create a process ID, but it behaves like a command. Okay, behavior is like a command, but okay, if you see into the process ID perspective of view of perspective, then it will not create any process ID. So now so you're defining a function, okay, and you're accessing the function, simple, right? So it also has a properties. It also have a properties of a file, properties of a function. So what are the properties of a variable you have? You have read write and you have local, right? So how did you made it as read only? By using as a read only command. So here also the same thing, use a read only for command itself, but it is a function, so use -f option and function name. Use -f option and function name. So the same thing with local. So what is the command? Export and -f function name. So to import, actually dot space script, and if there are any functions defined in that particular script, will get imported. Now will get imported. Okay, so that is how usually, okay, the properties for a function. If you would like to unset a function, you use unset -f and function name. Usually we don't usually unset. Why? Because whenever the script completes, the process ID closes automatically, and hence you don't require to, you don't usually require to unset that particular function separately, okay, as like your variables. If the process ID is completed, that's all, you're done. And the same concept, okay, so whatever the variables, whenever you define a variable, it goes to the local area. Okay, so if you would like to put it in the environment area, so you have to use export command. Now you are exporting a function. So the area, whatever we have talked about for variables, it is same for functions also. It is same for functions too. And yeah, so let's see. Okay, let's write a small function script and then we'll talk about. So whenever I go with the function, let me write the function. Okay, so observe the process. When I want to create a script, what I'm doing ls enter. So I'm seeing what is the last script I have written is script9.sh. So my next immediate script is script10.sh. Okay, so then I'm writing the script. So okay, so let's assume that I completed my script and I'm saving exit. Okay, so then immediately to execute the script, I have to provide chmod +x script10.sh. Okay, and then finally I'll execute script10.sh. This is the complete process I'm doing. So you are doing ls, checking the file last used file number, and then you are creating your, okay, the next file number you are deciding, okay, and you are providing executable permission, and finally you are actually executing. Okay, so after this particular script, will try to automate this particular process by using a function. Okay, so let's see. So let's try to write a small script. So the same addition subtraction script. So here, okay, I'm defining add function. So add, let's say it is a function, right? I'll put it like this: add function. So echo. Here I'm just showing only the demonstration. So that's the reason we'll be writing only one command, but usually you'll be having multiple commands in a function. Okay, so in the main program, so let's say this is main program. So here you need to understand one thing, that I am defining the functions at the starting and I'm writing the main program at the ending. Yes. Why? Because unless and until you define a variable, you cannot access the variable. Unless and until you define a function, you cannot access the function. Same concept. Okay. So if you put the functions at the down of the script, you'll get command not found errors. Okay. Why? Because the function is not defined yet. So your shell is going to tell you that command not found. So here I am putting a is equal to 10 and b is equal to 5, like, so I'm calling add function, I'm calling subtract function. Okay, so I'm simply executing script and .sh. So there is some wrong. Okay, what is the one in line number 10? Something is wrong. So how do you check? Set a new. Okay, so what is the line number 10? So here is the line number 10. So before to that the error is there. So what is the error is? So you don't use double braces. I use single brace. That's the issue. So line number 8 actually. That's not line number 10. Okay. So script 10.sh. So now perfectly fine. See, if you are aware of any operating system in its scripts, okay, so if you are from Linux administration, at least you should have aware of these particular scripts. So functions are widely used in the script. Okay, so why you use functions? Okay, so why do you use functions? Let me tell you like this. Okay, I missed this particular point at the starting. Why do you use a function? Whenever you have a requirement of accessing a set of commands repetitively, I'm not saying continuously, it's repetitively. So let's say at certain point of time I want to execute 10 set of commands, and again at a certain point of time I want to execute the same set of commands. Okay, so let's say if your requirement is something like 10 set of commands, if you are using 10 times, set means it always starts with number 1 and it always ends with number 10. The order never changes. Okay, so in that case I'll go with the function. So in that function, if you go, okay, so without function what is happening? You have 10 lines, you are using 10 times, so how many number of lines of code you are getting? You are going to get 100 lines of code. Whereas if you go with the function, you define 10 lines of the function plus 10 times you are accessing the function name, your code is going to be a 20 line. That's all. But the process ID is always remain same. So if there are 100 commands in the previous scenario, 100 process ID. So here also functions you are accessing 10 times, so 10 commands. Here also process ID is same. There is nothing, okay, so difference. But okay, but you can save lot of code. Your code, you're not, your code will not get into complex situation. Okay, complex if you use functions. Now, okay, so as it is a function, okay, and a type of command, okay, so function is a type of command, so every command should have a exit status. Every command should have an exit status. So to function also you have an exit status. So how do you do that? Is by using a return command. By using a return command, you're not supposed to use an exit command. Exit will exit the complete script. Whereas if you use a return command, it returns the status always against 0s to 255. Okay, so you can use whatever the value you want. So let me show you like this. So let's say my func function, I'm just giving go hi, sorry, and thereafter immediately I'm giving return and then echo bar and my func. So let's see after the return function after the return command whether this echo command is working or not. So save and exit. So this by is not executing. Okay, and let me see the source. Echo status of is equal to dollar question mark. Dollar question mark is the variable. Okay, where do you access the exit status? So here you are using the same thing. So script 11.sh exit status of a function equal to 0. Why? Because okay, so if you remember the exit command also returns the exit status 0 by default, unless if you use some value. So here if I use certain value, so return 1, so and script 11.sh. So what is the exit status? 1. So if you put 10, you are going to get the exit status 1. So as you have a set of commands, okay, so if you would like to know after executing those set of commands whether those commands are successfully done or not, okay, then you can use this particular, okay, so return status in a function. One second, Ramchandra. Like this, okay, so we usually define the status of a function also. Okay, so let's go to the scripts, okay, so which is there in etc init.d, and you see this particular one. Okay, so a simple example is, I think RHNST is simple script for you. So here, okay, so have you ever started a service? So how do you start a service? So service, let's say HTTPD is the service. HTTPD is the service. So how do you start? How do you restart? So this is the one way. What is the another way you usually do? So etc init.d, let's say if you have HTTPD and you give start, or you give stop, or you give restart. Okay, so stop is a set of commands, start is a set of commands, stop is a set of commands, and what is restart? It's nothing but stopping and starting. So let's say stop is 10 commands, start is 10 commands, and restart is 20 commands. So instead of writing code each and every time, okay, so let's see how this guy has simplified this code by using function. Okay, so if you see here, okay, so there are a lot of comments kept by the, okay, so who wrote this script. Okay, so here you can see there is a start function, there it is a stop function, but what is the restart means? Restart means it is actually, okay, so stop and start. So if it is start, he is using start function. If it is stop, he is using stop function. Whereas it is restart means stop and start. There is no need to address the different commands like putting one more function restart, okay, and putting all the stop commands and then all the start commands, which is not required. So you're saving a lot of code over there. Okay, this is a very simple script. That's the reason you are seeing only 2 to 3 commands. That's all, hardly. But if it is a, okay, very big scripts or something like network script, okay, so you know the network service, right? So network script, if you go, so there for start itself there will be a lot of commands. Okay, so here he has not used the function. Okay, he directly used this one. Okay, different way of approach. Okay, so different way of approach. So if you, okay, this is actually Red Hat 7 machine, so that's the reason you don't see init scripts, because init has been replaced with systemd. So Red Hat release, you can see it is 7. That's the reason you will not see much things here. Otherwise, okay, if it is a Red Hat 6 machine, so usually you'll see a lot of scripts out there, and every scripts you see they'll be using, okay, functions. They'll be using functions. And we have another concept also with functions. Okay, so we'll talk that particular one after covering certain other topics. Okay, so this is about simple functions. Let me see if I'm missing something. Functions, creating functions, usage functions. Yes, this is the thing. So how do you share the data between functions? Okay, so okay, so as I told you, okay, function is also a type of command. Okay, so function is a type of command. Okay, so it will not get a process ID. Okay, so why it will not get a process ID is a different story. Okay, why it comes is along with the shell. It's a part along with the shell. But how can I confirm that it is not using a different process ID is, I can show you with this particular data. Okay, so data sharing between the functions and the main program. So for that one, let me create a next script. Okay, so here the next script, how I'm going to create is, I'm going to create a script 12.sh. Okay, by seeing this 11.sh, this is the last script. I determined, okay, 11 is the last, the next script has to be 12. I can automate this particular process. Now how can I automate this particular process? You can see. Okay, so I want to get the 11 number. I want to get the 11 number. So how do I get it? Any approaches, Ramchandra? See, I have ls command. So ls is having the list of files, whereas I am specifically looking for 11. The next time it might be 12. After that it might be 13. But I want to get the last script number which is used. How do I get it? Any ideas? So this is how the scripting will be.
$hash.
Dollar
Hash.
What is $hash? I don't know. If I'm using a is equal to 10 and if I give echo $a, I know a is a variable. What is this $hash then? I don't know. So to get the 11 number, what is your approach? If you don't have an approaches, okay, so learning shell scripting will not help you. You should come with a way. So that is what the scripting is. Scripting is not what is the syntaxes which we are going to talk about. Scripting is what your approach. Take your approach and apply the code or the syntaxes which we are going to talk about, and it will put you okay as a solution. That's all. But you should have your own approach for a problem. Otherwise, you cannot automate it. Think, I need to get the 11 number. So what can I do? What I usually can do is, okay, so ls I can search for, in this scenario I can search for script, something like this. Sorry. Script. So this is one way, or else instead of grep actually you can have an option directly with the ls. So what I'll do is script star.sh. So as you are seeing actually in a different way, I can give -1. Okay, so if you want to sort it out in a time, you can sort it actually. So sort -n. So to sort it actually, okay, to sort baseless. So sort is a command where you can sort the output. So the base, no leading blanks, internal printing, numeric sort only we have used now. Human numeric sort, random sort. G will help you. But H, no, this is also not helping. So what I'll do is ls by script. There is a small thing I have missed. Okay, so you need to have it in a certain order. Okay, what I have done is, yeah, so thing so don't worry about this one, I'll tell you later. I'm just renaming the files. So what I just did is I just renamed the scripts which are starting with script 1 with a 01, script 2 as 02. That's all I did. Now, okay, so you should have a standard format, otherwise it's not possible to sort out the output anyhow. So here I have a proper format now. So here if I give ls script star.sh, okay, so if it is confusing, I can use -1. So the last one, okay, is the script number. So here to get the last one, we talked about based on line numbers, you can filter the output using head and tail commands. Already talked about, and we already talked about sed command. Okay, so you can search and replace. What I want to search is I want to search for a word script, and I want to replace with nothing. And also, what is the one I want to remove? So if you simply use this one, so you'll get 11.sh. By my intention is to get only 11 numbers, so I use -e and search for what, substitute with .sh with nothing, and you got the 11 number. So I'm going to use an arithmetic command substitution. Okay, so in a variable, so I'm going to use it is from here dollar. So dollar is missing. So if you give echo $i, you have 11 number. So how can I add an additional number? So simply you go and use arithmetic operation $i plus 1, 12. Okay, I'm going to use it to a variable now. That's all. So I is equal to 12 now. So echo $i. So I'm going to use this particular one. So I'm going to create a function. So what is my function is create underscore script is my function. So whenever I execute a create underscore script function, so it should automatically create a script. Okay, so by getting these values, okay, so I is equal to this one, I is equal to $i plus 1. So I am got it as 12 now. So I want to create a script, right? So while creating the script directly, instead of creating directly, what I'll do is I'll add the shebang /bin/bash, and I will redirect that one to script $i.sh. So means script 12.sh. And after that, what I'll do, I'll open that particular, so vm script $i.sh. I'll open this the script, and then after coming out of the vi editor, I need to provide the executable permission chmod plus x. So script $i.sh. So after that, I don't want to execute the script. Okay, so I want to execute it manually. So what I'll do is the script name is this one. I'll just show, and I'm done. So if I want to create a script, I'll simply use that particular one. Now if you hit enter, okay, can you see here the script name which is created is script 12.sh, script 12.sh, and shebang is also added automatically. And what I'll do now, I'll just go and give a hi, and I'll simply come out. So it will show me the script name, and I will execute that particular script name. I don't want to do it manually because I'm doing a demonstration. I may need to modify again and again, so that's the reason I will not use. Okay, so you can clearly check. Okay, so the content of this particular function by using type command. Type command will determine what type of command it is. Okay, so whether it is a binary file, whether it is a shell built-in, whether it is a function, or whether it is an alias, what command it will determine is type is a command. So now type create underscore script is a function, and what is the function? What is the function you have? Okay, is this one. If I want to get this particular function each and every time whenever I log in, so what I have to do, I want to use bash underscore profile. So here at the end, if I put that particular function, so that's fine. So every time whenever I log in, I'll get that particular. Let it be, no problem. So even if I log out and I log in, sp 48, okay, if I give type create underscore script, I'll get that is a function because I just mentioned it in bash profile. Okay, every time I log in, so that's this .bash underscore profile will be executed, and hence I'm able to get it. Okay, so now, okay, so what we're talking about sharing the data. So this is how you do automations. Okay, so whenever you find a gap where you can automate, you have to automate it. Okay, so let's say you're doing our user add process manually, you automate it. Whether you are doing a LV process creation, okay, you automate it. Okay, so manually. So whenever you're doing some deployment kind of thing, so let's say, okay, so you talk about your in DevOps kind of thing. So let's say you want to deploy a file. So you want to deploy a file, whether it is, where do you deploy files? You deploy files you're in web server or in Tomcat server. So web server means you know the web location. It is where www.html, you are going to replace the files over there. So if it is a Tomcat service, so you know the location where the Tomcat is installed. So you go to, okay, so web apps, and you just remove your var file, remove your temp directory, put the new var file, stop the Tomcat, start this Tomcat. Okay, so you do a lot of things, whatever you want to do. Okay, so how you do those things, what is the order, you are going to put it in a script. In certain case, if Tomcat stopping failed, what is your approach, what you are going to do, right? So if you have a situation where it can be handled automatically, you want to do a check, that check, after that check again you try, if it fails you come out, something like you make some logic, make some diagram. Okay, after this what I want to do, if it fails here, what I need to do, if it succeeds here, what I need to do. Okay, so it had to be a chain relation between each and every point, each and every command, what is next. Okay, the order. So that's the simple scripting. It's the way of logic, basically the commands you execute. Okay, now we're talking about sharing the data in the functions and the main program. So what I'll do is, okay, so I'll define a function. Okay, so here in this function, I'll just give echo $a, and I'll save it, and I'm in the main program. Okay, so a is equal to 10, and echo, what I'll do is a in main program. A in main program is equal to $a, and here a in function is equal to $a. Okay, so just save it. Already have executable permission. So a in main program is 10. You are not accessing the function, so let's do calling the function. So a in the main program is 10. A in function is also 10, means, okay, so this will tell you that function is not creating a different process ID. If a new process ID is created, new, okay, memory is allocated for that particular process ID, and the function cannot access the, okay, variable which is defined in the main program, obviously, right? So that's the reason we can easily tell here that, okay, so function is not creating a process ID. What all the variables available in the main program process ID, your function also can access. So how it is accessing is basically because it will not create any process ID. Okay, so a in function is, so means what you need to understand, okay, so practically is whatever you define in main program can be accessed in the functions, and whatever you define in the function can also be accessed in main program. Why? Because the same concept again. Okay, so script tool.sh, you define the value in your function and you are able to access it here. Okay, now let's say if you want to define a variable, okay, so only in the function, now you have to define the variable with local command. Okay, so local will restrict that particular value only into its function. So in the main program it is empty, you can see here. In the main program you cannot access the value. See, that is a function, it's a type of command, it also should have some privacy. So not privacy, I can say it should have some properties like a command. Okay, so these particular properties I'm going to talk about in the coming classes, like a command, but assume function also will reserve certain private memory for its own. Function also reserves certain private memory for its own actually. So in that particular area, whenever you define a variable with local, it goes into there, and that value scope is only inside that function. Okay, so it will not go other functions, nor even to your main program. Okay, so this is all about functions you have. Okay.